Good morning and happy Halloween. My kids are super excited. If I had a mask, I'd go trick-or-treating. But instead, I'm going to be mom and just go along. But anyways, I hope everyone has an awesome Halloween. And the one thing I want to remind you is to give gratitude to your ancestors because they walk with you, they protect you, they are the ones that have your back. So remind to tell them I love you, leave them little gifts, make sure that you just send them lots of love and light because this is that time of year when that veil is the thinnest and you can actually kind of communicate with them, and it's not like you're going to sit down and have tea with them, but if you listen carefully, you might hear some thoughts that you're like, I was thinking about my grandmother, or you might feel that brush of your shoulder. And the supernatural is actually very real if you can get in touch with understanding that energy that does exist. But understand also you have to be in a higher vibration to be in alignment with this. And like I said already, make sure you show them love and gratitude because they walked this path before you did. And a lot of things that are in you came from them. So just make sure that you remember them on this day, And one thing my grandmother always asked was, will you write my story? Because if you don't write my story, nobody will remember me. And she wrote her mother's story. And I constantly talk about my grandmother because she was the most intelligent woman that I knew. And honestly, I wish I wasn't so afraid of my grandfather because now that I'm older, I realize he was just a man who had fought wars. He was in World War II. And by the time I came around, he had cancer and he was dying. So he seemed really scary. But in true sense, he was a very loving man who was very skilled, wise, and a great leader. So this is me giving the praise to my ancestors and my lineage for being here for me, for protecting and guiding me. And I hope you too will remember to do the same for yours. So that was just a quick little happy Halloween, and remember the importance of kind of what we're celebrating, And this goes off of something I've always told my kids, and it's funny because it's so instilled in my daughter that she said it to me, and she thinks she made it up. But it's my favorite part of the year has always been Halloween, and it's the fact that we get to dress up, we get to be who we want, and no one judges us for that. And it's sad that's only one time a year, but it's kind of how society works, right? So just remember, it doesn't have to be one time of the year. You have to have that courage to say, I'm going to be who I want to be. Because believe me, when I had dreadlocks, the 11 years that I had them, I got a lot of comments, a lot of nasty comments at that. And stereotyping became a big thing, especially living up north. I had a guy come up to me one time, damn, I ain't never seen no white girl with dreads before, and all I could do was snap back, damn, I ain't never seen a black man in camo overalls before. So it was kind of just like a, don't judge me, I won't judge you. But that was early on. So the point in this little example was to understand that it's okay to be who you want to be any time of the year. And it does take courage, which means you cannot let people's words get to you, right? Don't let the little pokes, because when you're brave, when you have the ability to stand up and be yourself regardless of any given situation, a lot of times that provokes people to want to stop you. And it's because they have a fear of being seen for who they truly are. And that's because a lot of people are wearing masks. So whenever these people do want to provoke and poke, that a lot of times, if you're not as courageous as you think you are, that can present trigger moments. Hold on. Okay, so that can bring forth moments in you that trigger you to feel certain ways. Like say when you were younger and you got picked on and it made you cry a lot, or someone upset you and you wanted to fight, or someone manipulated you and now you are bitter and angry. These moments can keep popping up until you heal from these moments. And the hard part is most of us don't even know we have these triggers. And it's taken me to get out of a toxic situation to realize I was even in a toxic situation, to be able to evaluate the situation. And that was the hardest part. The hardest part was looking back on all of it and realizing that situation created obstacles for me. You know, that trauma was going to exist until I came face to face with it. And I looked at it head on and said, okay, so that makes me feel this way. And when I feel that way, I act this way. And a lot of times we'll take that upset or that trauma out on other people that we love. And that's where that saying comes from, that hurt people hurt people. So if you start finding that you react a certain way when maybe someone says, oh, that outfit doesn't look good on you, or maybe you want to rethink what's on your plate, or, you know, just little things that kind of get you to go, who the hell do you think you are? You know, instead of getting upset, think about why you're feeling the way you're feeling and how what that person is saying to you is making you react the way you're reacting, because people do not have the ability to control your emotions. That's the power of you. Only you can control the way that you react to what somebody says to you. And excuse me, one thing I've tried to always tell myself is I own my power. You can poke, you can pick, you can say whatever you want, but I am strong enough to maintain my emotions, not take what you're saying personally, because like I remind my daughter regularly, what that person says about you doesn't matter. They don't know you. They don't know your heart. They don't know what's inside your brain. So we live in a judgmental society, regardless that most people will look at the Bible, right? And it says, do not judge lest ye be judged. So people can spout the Bible all day long, but then they don't actually use it correctly in the sense that they're following their own advice. So when you've got someone judging you, understand that what they're doing is placing their insecurities of themselves onto you. So as you can realize, whatever you say about me, it's not going to affect me. You're not going to alter my energy. Your thoughts don't change who I am. Your opinion of me does not change the value of who I am. So when it comes down to it, know yourself, love yourself, own your attitude, own your emotions, and then nobody can touch you. You become this almost forced to be reckoned with. But understand, when you get in this powerful stance of being this person, people will poke. They want to prove to themselves that you're not as good as you say you are, and you're just like me. And the only difference is when you're willing to put forth the effort, when you're really willing to put in that hard work to be secure within yourself, and others aren't willing to do that, now they have to prove to themselves, you're no different than me. You're just like me. But you know in your heart you're different. You know in your heart you're willing to put forth that effort to build yourself, to grow, to glow, to be awesome, because that's what you're here for in this life. You're here to get to make choices for yourself that will bring you to your higher self, that will then open up the gateways to, back to the beginning of this video, talking about that interaction with your ancestors, that magic, that guidance, that protection. And you have to look at Native Americans. And I speak of them because they're on my continent, so you also have natives in your own country, wherever you are in the world. But the predecessors of your life, they were in tune with nature and everything around them, and that gave them this powerful stance of who they could be, what they could imagine, what they could build. And you know, we talk about aliens and out of this world intellect, but when it comes down to it, it is so above as below, but you're in the middle of this. So when you have that magical realm, right? The things you cannot see, sometimes you can feel them, but it's the things that there's no proof. And oftentimes when we talk about them, people say that we're crazy or unstable in some way, right? But when it comes down to it, you actually just have this extra sensory aspect to you. Not all people have these because we're sedated in the world by our electronics, by other people's thoughts, by the food that we eat, the lack of activity, the overstimulation, just a lot of things that the purpose is to wear us down, to keep us functioning at a low level for somebody else to profit off of us. That's the whole scheme, right? So in the end, when you start taking this power back, here comes the pokes and the prods. You can't do that. You can't be this. Who will feed me? Who will work for me? So when it comes down to it, if you start standing in your power, you're taking your power back from somebody else that stole it from you. And you'd be surprised the imbalance that's in this world. And when you start getting in that powerful stance, more and more people will try to fight you to tear you down. And actually, I was watching the movie Elvis last night. I had not seen this version of it. But in that movie, there were a lot of historical figures who died because, of course, in that time frame, we had JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., and then there's other ones that we don't even discuss, like Huey P. Long. He was a lawyer for the poor people. Pretty sure it was in Louisiana a while back, probably around the same time period. But these people that tried to take back the power to distribute it equally among the mass, to, as Huey P. Long's slogan was, every man a king. And he wanted to see equality. And they all had that stance at that time. So when you have these freedom fighters that come along and they start building a big, massive followers that start realizing that, okay, the world that we live in is not justified and I have no reason to support it any longer. And they start creating a movement, a ripple, right? Because you only need one little pebble to create a wave on the other side of the world. So when it comes down to it, when there's somebody that starts provoking thought on a different level, and it's going to be, here's your power back, let's work together, brotherhood, sisterhood, unity. These are the people that often get silenced. And it's backwards in how it's done, of course, because why would the guard want to set the prisoner free even though they don't belong to be in captivity? So just remember that you can draw this power back. You can create an invisible chain with your ancestors that will help guide you on the path in which you should go to help show the world, not only your greatness, but their greatness as well. That everyone has the right to be free. Everyone has the right to experience life and to embrace the enjoyment that it can bring us. We're not meant to work our lives away and neglect our families and not even really be able to afford vacations, because a lot of people can't even afford to have that little escape from life. So when it comes down to it, I just want to remind you that you have ancestors. You have this crew of workers that you might not be aware of, but they're very aware of you, and a lot of them are protecting you in your sleep, while you're working, on the streets. And just remember, there's, it's like when I got in a car accident and someone said, oh, your guardian angel was looking out for you, because I had a blowout in the Excursion that I was driving at the time. And I was on the freeway going 65 miles an hour, ended up going into a ditch, flipping 7 times and landing upside down backwards on the feeder. And what came from that was a scratch on my toe, and my cell phone was gone. And when I actually got out, because I climbed out of this, they were amazed. And they even said, man, you were very protected that day. God wants you here for a reason. And honestly, it's to talk to you. It's to remind you of how powerful how intelligent, how loved, how special, and how needed you are in this world. Because we can't function in this world on an individual level. And instead, when we can all get back to ourselves and understand that we are special in our own right, and that when we can present ourselves to the world in the manner in which we were created, regardless what that is, if it's being able to spin a basketball on your finger for 5 hours straight, I don't know, Guinness Book of World Records or something. But when it comes down to it, you might think that the skill you have is so small, but think of how you could inspire millions just by putting forth that dedication, that practice, the effort to do something, because you never know who you're inspiring. And the best way to inspire others is to encourage them, not to make fun, not to poke, not to tear them down because you want to feel better, because all you're doing is creating negative karma for yourself. And then on the backside, you're cutting those ties with the supernatural world that can help bring you to the power within yourself. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your ancestors. They walked a tough walk to get us to where we are today. And all we have to do is sit down with a little bit of praise, admiration, gratitude, and a lot of love to bring all of this back full circle, to make it make sense for ourselves and generations to come. So just a little Halloween message, peace, love, and light to my ancestors, and I hope you'll remember to say the same to yours. And everyone have a great, safe, fun holiday. Bye-bye.